There we go, folks. There we go. New York Mets win a game today, 10-4, but it's really how they won the game. Finally, the New York Mets giving you that satisfaction, that happy feeling. Folks, the Mets answered a lot of questions this game. They certainly answered a lot of questions. To be fair, they were playing the Miami Marlins. But you know what? The Miami Marlins, they were in first place in the NL East headed into this series. So give them a bit of credit. The Miami Marlins have been pitching well in their last series. And today, the Mets put up an easy 10 spot, hitting multiple home runs. Marte to Alonso to Torrens. I mean, it was a phenomenal game all around. That fifth inning was dominant. The Mets sent 11 hitters to the plate. Peterson did his job dominating the game on the pitching side. So you have to be happy. You certainly have to be happy if you're a Mets fan. I mean, the questions going into this is number one, can the offense get going? Well, folks, the offense got going. I mean, Lindor wasn't even playing today. Congratulations to Lindor, to the Lindor family for the birth of their third child, his son. So congratulations, Francisco Lindor. Rest up and then, get going. But you know what? This was one of those good feeling games. This was a game where if you're a Mets fan, you get excited and you say, hey, when is the start of the next game? Like right now, I want to see more baseball. I want to continue to see more baseball. This really gets you excited. It really gets you going. Games like this. So, let me know what you think. What did you like about this game? The first thing that I liked is that the Mets had an approach. They certainly had an approach off of the opposing pitcher Quantrill. Quantrill early on, he was doing pretty decent. I mean, he was hitting corners, he was throwing his changeup, his splitter, his fastball, mixing up pitchers. Marte had an early home run to for the Mets to tie the game. The Mets were down 1-0. Peterson had surrendered a home run in the first inning, but the Mets, they hung in there. They had their approach. The Marlins broadcast actually said it perfect. The Mets were really taking fastballs and they were hunting the splitter and they were hunting the curveball. You saw Marte when Marte hit that curveball. It was like a foot inside and maybe 6 inches off his shoes. So Marte was certainly hunting the curveball in that at bat. He pulled it down the left field line, and the Mets got their first run. So the Mets had an approach. And that fifth inning, you got to say, you saw everything you wanted to see from our New York Mets. And I was super, super proud because Acuna, he started off the inning, a hustle play. He gets on base. Then Siri, Oppo, smokes a double. Acuna comes around the plate, scores, makes it 2-1. But you see what Siri brings to the table. I mean, this guy, like I said, early on, before the season started, this guy is a legit four-tool player. He could field. He has power. He has an arm. And folks, this guy can run the bases. And you saw at the end of the lineup and in the beginning of the lineup with Marte on top, how much speed you have. You have Siri. You had Acuna. You had Marte. You had legit elite speed in front of Juan Soto. And that brings me to my next point. The next thing we wanted to see for the New York Mets. Can they support Juan Soto? Can the New York Mets offense win without relying on Juan Soto? And again, that was another question answered today. Juan Soto, decent, went 1 for 4 with a walk, but he didn't dominate the game today. He certainly didn't. And in that fourth inning, defensively, you saw Juan Soto, who could be a little bit of a liability in right field. A couple plays in the fourth inning. There was that one play. Actually, you know what? There were like 3 or 4 plays. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'm a Mets fan. There were 3 or 4 plays that I was a little disappointed at Juan Soto. But then there was also one play in the fourth inning where Juan Soto was coming in on the ball. It took a short hop, bounced past him. Siri backed him up. But I thought that was a ball that Siri, if he would have took a direct route toward that ball, he would have had a better shot at that play. So maybe a little more communication. If Juan Soto is the inferior outfielder, Juan Soto should have been the guy backing up the play, and Siri should have been the guy aggressively pursuing that play. So, it's nitpicking stuff, but, when you get to the playoff time, you're going to have to fine tune yourself and get those kinks worked out. All right, so back to the fifth inning, you had Siri with that double opposite field. He brings in Acuna. Then Marte gets hit by a pitch. So what do you have? You have Juan Soto up, first and second, 0 outs. What do? Juan Soto, tough at bat. Juan Soto ends up getting walked. And the funny thing is, at that point, you heard, well, at least I was listening to the Marlins broadcast, they were saying Quantrill is probably going to be taken out, before he faced Soto. But you know what? The manager of the Marlins, give him credit if you're a Mets fan, and if you're a Marlins fan, what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing? So he left them in there to face Soto, walked Soto, and then the next hitter, Alonso, comes up. You're like, all right, that's the last hitter for Quantrill, and Pete comes up. Bases loaded, 0 outs. And I wrote down on my scorecard, perfect opportunity for Pete, get himself going, get confidence early on in the season, and get a big hit with runners in scoring position. And that's what I was thinking. And I got to say, Pete was perfect in that at-bat. He had a plan. He stayed disciplined in that plan. The count went 3-1, and basically Pete didn't try to do too much. Literally outside part of the plate, threw a fastball. Quantrill threw a fastball. Pete put a good part of the bat on the ball, went with the pitch, opposite field, home run. And that's what I love to see. And I said all the time in the offseason, Pete, if he's disciplined, if he uses the whole field, doesn't expand the strike zone, approaches things like he did in the postseason, we are going to have an electric year for Mr. Pete Alonso. I love it, folks. I loved it. I was super excited. That made the Mets up 6-1, and really, 6-1 with Peterson dealing. The game was almost said and done right then. But, I like that the Mets still continue to battle and put good at-bats together. Nimmo would come up next at bat, hit the ball hard, lined it to center field. Vientos comes up. Again, not giving away at bats. Vientos already had a double in this game. He was taking a couple good hacks. I liked Vientos in this game. In fact, up and down the lineup, a lot of the at bats were very well taken. Well, next batter, Torrens comes up, and I'm telling you, folks, he freaking smoked this ball. Line drive, center fielder tries to make a nice play, gets a little piece of his top part of his glove on the ball. Still, ball goes over the wall, 2-run homer, and that makes it 8-1 Mets. And still, the Mets were still putting good at bats. Next batter, Beatty was up, puts a good piece of the bat on the ball, lines it opposite way. That was a double. Acuna, he would pop up to center field. Siri hit it to second base. It was a 4-3 putout. And there she wrote, the Mets were up 8-1. So great inning. Great inning. The Mets sent 11 batters to the plate in that inning. But the thing that I like the most is their approach. Their approach was consistent. Every at bat was maxed out. No at bats were given away. Even after the grand slam, even after the 2-run homer, Beatty continued to work the count. I love the approach when they switch pitchers. The Mets continue to put pressure on the Marlins' next pitcher. That was Soriano. Soriano gave up 4 runs. He gave up 3 hits, so they smoked Soriano and Quantrill. So I really like the fact that the Mets didn't let up. In the top of the 6th inning, Nimmo came up, and Nimmo was swinging the bat good. He smoked a 2-run homer center field, and that was all she wrote. Made it 10-1. Towards the end of the game, Danny Young came in. The Marlins scored a couple runs, made it 10-4. But at the end of the day, very great game. Peterson on the pitching side went 6 innings, allowed 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 9 Ks, folks. 9 Ks. I really like what he was doing. He was working both sides of the plate, up, bottom of the zone, top of the zone, he was making batters swing at breaking balls, sliders off the edge of the plate. He was inducing ground balls when he needed. I mean, Peterson was extremely aggressive. And I gotta say, I didn't even think I thought he was good, but I didn't even think he was 100%. This was his A game. I think you got his B plus game, and you still got 9 strikeouts. Folks, listen, this was his B plus game. I mean, his control, I got to say, his control wasn't pinpoint. He still had 3 walks. But that being said, with his B plus game still getting these type of results, that 10-2 or 10-1, whatever he was last year with a 2.9 ERA, that may not be an aberration, folks. That might be the expectation. And I said before the year that this may be a good opportunity to sign Peterson now, extend him for a very reasonable price. After each one of these performances, I would say the price is going to continue to go up. And Peterson, great job early on. You have great performances. The weakness of this team was supposed to be the starting rotation, but it's turning out to be the strength. You got McGill, Peterson, Holmes, Canning. All 4 of those pitchers pitch well enough to win. So doing a great job in the Mets. And now that the bats are going, I expect them to continue to build. They don't need a torpedo bat. Not that, there's anything wrong with that. You hear with the Yankees with the torpedo bat, but the Mets are doing fine the way things are. And then where you see like the division, I mean, folks, you gotta put your foot down. You see what's going on with the Atlanta Braves. And I mean, the Braves have Acuna. They have a couple guys coming back in a month. But right now, the Braves got off to a very suspect start. And now we're Jurickson Profar. And folks, a lot of fans were lobbying to get Profar. Profar is going to be out for the next 80 games for a PED suspension. So that is a huge killer. The Braves are 0-4 to start the season, and this is where you bury them, folks. You have to bury your opponent. The Braves were supposed to be one of the Mets' top competition. The Phillies, yes, they're up there, but the Braves, you step on their throat now. I don't like to sound mean or vicious, but this is the fact of reality. The New York Mets have an opportunity. Take advantage of it. You're going to be able to beat the Marlins. The Mets have a fairly easy schedule in April. Let's get everybody going. Let's continue to support Juan Soto, support the pitching staff. Obviously get Francisco Lindor going because that is a huge key. But, I like the formula. The offensive formula, you look at it. We got power. We got speed. We got guys, Lindor wasn't in there. But, we got a good number of guys with decent speed, from Acuna to Siri to Marte to Lindor. That's a lot of speed at the top and back end of the lineup right before Soto. So I really like the way we're set up. And if Pete continues to have this type of approach, great job. So I have my 3 dominators of the game, 3 guys that I think were, the best. And in order, I will say this. I'm going to say Nimmo. He is number 3. He was 1-4, but he had great at bats. Like even when he was lining out, he did eventually have that home run, 2 RBIs. But he had a really good, strong game. Number two, I got to give it to Peterson, going 6 innings, 9 strikeouts, getting the Mets in that solid position to put up that big spot, that crooked number in the 5th inning, really giving the Mets what they needed, going 6 innings. So Peterson, great job, great job. And the number one spot, the number one dominator, I don't think there's any doubt, any argument, has to go hands down, Mr. Pete Alonso, answering questions early on. Can he hit with runners in scoring position? So far, so good. 2 hits today, 1 walk, 4 RBIs, grand salami. Mr. Pete Alonso already doing great things. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Mets win. They are 2-2. We're going to we have a game tomorrow, and we're going to focus on that. But great stuff tonight. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. What did you see? What in the game stood out to you? Feel good. I feel good. Hopefully you feel good. Let's go Mets. Have a great night, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you for all the comments. I appreciate each and every one.